You're watching Republic TV. A quick breaking news coming in on the Tuticorin protest. Now we're getting to know that the Bombay Stock Exchange has sought a clarification from Vedanta over the anti-Sterlite protest. That's the latest that we're gathering at this point of time. Earlier today we told you how the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board has ordered the shutting down of power to the power plant. But now another breaking news alert coming in that the BSE has sought clarification from Vedanta. We have Pooja Prasanna joining us on the phone line in a short while from now, but let's also take you through the details of what's been happening. As of now, the death toll in these protests that spiraled out of control is at 3. Pooja, the latest that we're gathering at this point of time is a clarification sought from Vedanta, from the Bombay Stock Exchange. What more can you tell us?
Well, we've accessed a clarification that has been sought by BSE from Vedanta Sterlite, and they've specifically asked about the allegations and accusations made by the Anti-Sterlite protesters in Tuticorin. This after, of course, 13 people were killed in Anti-Sterlite protests in Tuticorin after opened fire at the protesters there. And, in the past, they have mentioned, Sterlite has maintained that they have been functioning in accordance to all the norms put forth by the Pollution Control Board and also
Right, Pooja will be joining us live in a short while from now, but we can tell our viewers once again that the death toll in these protests have reached 13. Earlier today, we had an order copy from the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, which went on and said that it had recommended the cutting of power supply to the power plant. Many are looking at this development as a victory for the protesters. As of now, the latest that we're gathering on the protest is that the Bombay Stock Exchange has sought an explanation from Vedanta on the anti-Sterlite protest. Fast-paced developments coming in this morning. We also know that a lawyer will approach the High Court in Delhi. Lots of allegations of human rights violations against the police. We have Pooja joining us on this broadcast. Pooja, if you could take us through all the developments that we've been tracking from this morning when it comes to the protests in Tuticorin.
Well, just a few minutes after the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, in fact, had given, a direction to close down the Sterlite plant, and also because in the end of March as well, the same, direction was given, which was, of course, not complied by Sterlite in Tuticorin. They have also instructed the water supply body as well as the electricity body of Tamil Nadu to stop, power as well as water to that particular plant. Just a few minutes after that, we saw an explanation being sought by the Bombay Stock Exchange of Vedanta Sterlite, asking them to give clarifications of the kind of environmental norms allegation that has come forth in the anti-Sterlite protest that we've seen in Tuticorin. This even as there is a petition, a plea that has been filed in the Delhi High Court by a Chennai-based lawyer, and he says he's seeking for some representatives of NHRC to physically go down to Tuticorin and get an assessment of the ground, because his plea says that any report that is given by the DG, IGP or the Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu will be biased and will be in fact detrimental in bringing out the truth as to what really transpired before violence escalated in Tuticorin a couple of days ago. So multiple developments as far as the Tuticorin violence is concerned. Legal route sought by a couple of people, but in the meantime we've seen Tamil Nadu government now quickly getting into action as well.
Right. Pooja, stay with us. Also talk to us about how the politics around these protests are spiraling. Yesterday, we saw Rahul Gandhi link these protests directly to the RSS. We also know how the DMK and politicians in Tamil Nadu, how they've picked up the protests here in Tuticorin, which have spiraled out of control. Where were all of them when this was happening for the last 100 days? If you could tell us about the strategy of the Tamil Nadu government at this point of time.
Well, very honestly, they don't seem to have a strategy, which is why, despite knowing that, there are protests going on for about 100 days, they fail to reach out to the protesters, because knowing how these protests have panned out over the last few decades, the government should have at least tried to give them some assurance. The kind of action that we've seen from Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board could have come well in advance to possibly save several lives as well as damage to the Tamil Nadu government. They seem to be just reacting on a knee-jerk basis, because yesterday we saw Kamal also go down to the ground. He was in Thoothukudi and he spoke to some of the people who were also injured and the bereaved family of those who lost their lives. And Stalin and other ally parties have called for a band, the Tamil Nadu band on the 25th, to protest against the police excesses and of course the state government. So it looks like they're still completely out of control, and they're just trying to see how they can salvage the situation. But clearly it's too late for the Tamil Nadu government, because by and large the sentiment on the ground is that they've completely failed to listen to the voices of the people, and they failed to reciprocate to the kind of demands that were put forth. Because what they were asking for, the protesters, was a delegation to at least listen to what their cries were, what their problems were, and on that front the Tamil Nadu government completely failed. Apart from that, also failed to anticipate the kind of large-scale violence, because in terms of even intelligence, they completely failed ahead of that massive protest that was planned and announced as well by the protesters. So they were completely caught unaware, and the police were also largely outnumbered.
Right. Getting you all those latest updates. Pooja Prasanna joining us on this broadcast. We'll also have Sanjeevi getting us live reports from Thoothukudi. For now, we can tell our viewers that internet services have been suspended in Thoothukudi at this point of time. The videos that we are putting out show you another side where, yes, there have been allegations against the police of using excessive force. But yes, there are videos that we've accessed here on Republic which show how even the protesters went rogue. That's all for now with Pooja. We'll be tracking more updates on that big story.